Hello everyone, welcome back to History Bash. I'm your host Joe. Today we'll be going back to the time when England still had control of the colonies and the Boston Tea Party was all the news. Today, we're talking about the war that gave America its freedom, the Revolutionary War. What was the American Revolution? First, let's briefly talk about the colonies. Back a few years ago in 1607, the first colonies were established, Jamestown, Virginia and Plymouth, Massachusetts. Taking a huge leap here for time's sake, in 1754 the whole East Coast was colonized and established as the 13 British colonies we all know and love today. Also remember though, the British were not alone in this process. The French also began to colonize the great country of modern-day Canada, eh? Oh, that's so bad. However, the two powers of France and England started to get into arguments over territory, of which I'm guessing is like calling dibs on a girl. A lot of back and forth, I saw at firsts. Thus caused the French and Indians to gang upon England and the colonists in the French and Indian War, which lasted from 1756 to 1763, also known as the 7 Years' War, which was so creatively named. The war did not go in favor of the French, however. England and the colonists got the KO on the French and Indian Dream Team. To prove this, England and France signed the Treaty of Paris in 1763. Luckily for the British, the treaty not only ended the war, but granted them all the territory from the Mississippi River to the Appalachian Mountains. Now we can start to get into the real part of the video. The 7 Years' War left England in a mountain of debt that even Donald Trump couldn't pay off, so they devised a plan to tax the American colonists. A lot. To add to the money-making scheme to pay off war debts, the Stamp Act was passed in 1765, which made all important documents and papers be produced in Great Britain in some sort of special stamp. The colonists had to pay for all of this. This didn't go well for the colonists. Even with all the gained land that should have made them happy, they were less than pleased that England was robbing them of their money, had to pay taxes on such things as postage and tea. The suspense builds and the plot thickens. Taxation with representation comes up a lot when you study the subject. The innocent citizens of the New World were being taxed without representation in Parliament. So what did they do, I hear you ask? Hello? Is anyone there? No? Okay. Anyways, they stopped paying taxes altogether. I wonder what would happen if we did that today. I bet you there'd be no money to build any wall or free college or enough cash to buy a new email account. Hashtag 2016 election disc. So in 1773, 3 ships from the East India Tea Company roll up to the Boston Harbor and all like, "Hey man, want some herbs?" But already on their herbs, American colonists dressed up as Native Americans ambush the ships and dump all the tea into the Boston Harbor. Thus, the Boston Tea Party goes down in history. The British were infuriated at this act of aggression. You can only imagine the steam that filled the Parliament, turning it into a sauna. They began to form troops to move against the colonists. The now famous Silversmith received this top-secret information in a manila folder on his door that self-destructed 10 seconds later, only for him to jump on his horse in time to escape the explosion, to ride around Lexington and such to warn the colonists of the British. His name was Paul Revere. Sure enough, the next morning the British arrived in Lexington. It was April 19, 1775. The first engagement between the colonists and the British occurred, setting the shot heard around the world in the newspapers everywhere. Jennifer Aniston telling you about the newest fad diet on a magazine cover. This marked the start of the American Revolution. Many influential and inspiring leaders from the colonies met up one night at a boys-only treehouse meeting to discuss the next steps to be taken. They decided to form a militia in Massachusetts to confront the British. It was led by none other than the man himself, George Washington. Things were starting to heat up and the war was spicier than a jalapeno dipped in hot sauce wrapped in a ghost pepper. On June 17, 1775, the two armies collided in Charlestown, Massachusetts, at the Battle of Bunker Hill. The colonists got an uppercut in round 1 of the fight, sending them to the ground with a KO, and the British came out on top. However, the British had a pretty big dent in them. This gave the colonists a needed confidence boost. But they knew this war couldn't be won alone. So who did they turn to? The baguette-wielding French, who had a pretty big bone to pick with the British. If you remember earlier, the French-Indian War, where the French got destroyed by England. However, the French said they could not help if the colonists were still a member of Great Britain. So, on July 1st of 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, and news was out on July 4th that America was a country, which causes the misconception of when the document was actually signed. So then, America was born. The colonies became states and everything was fine and dandy. It actually wasn't. So they waited for help as the war dragged on, and later that year they lost New York to England. General George Washington spotted out the obvious. They needed to open a can of whoop and win some battles. So on Christmas night, they crossed the Delaware River and arrived in Trenton, New Jersey. So the next morning, the British allies awoke to find the whole town surrounded. Washington returns with a victory in the bag. Later, in 1777, another turning point for the war happened. The 2 battles of Saratoga, the colonists were getting whooped on by the British parents' belt for not cleaning their rooms. Luckily, the colonists persisted and won back New York. Then, on October 17th of 1781, they forced nearly 5,000 British troops to surrender. With another massive victory in the bag, America proved to the French that there ain't no messing around here. It's war. So the French decided to join in with the colonists, aiding them with their own naval fleet. It It's October 19th of 1781 in Yorktown, Virginia, that the combined forces could put their feet down and really do some damage. They trapped all of British General Cornwallis's men on the Yorktown Peninsula while he hid in a cave. The next year, peace negotiations began to be written. It was April 1782 when 3 American representatives, John Jay, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin, wrote up a document for peace. It took a staggering 2 years of peace negotiation before King George signed another Treaty of Paris on September 3, 1783. The end of the war had come, and England finally recognized the United States as a legitimate nation. It took 8 years of grueling war to reach this point, and America was liberated from British rule. However, the rivalry isn't over yet. The British tried to invade once again in 1812, causing the War of 1812. This is where we earn our fabulous Super Bowl opener, the national anthem. That's another video for another day. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next time.